That last headline where we have as a country experienced this first case of a new very transmissible variant of the coronavirus. Well, the World Health Organization says it is the most transmissible subvariant that has been detected so far. Now remember, we've had quite a few subvariants, but of course it doesn't compare much as far as severity is concerned to those earlier variants that we all went through. Well, Senior Research Fellow at Stellenbosch University's Centre for Epidemiological Modelling and Analysis, it's Professor Alex Welte joining us this morning. Prof, good to have you on eNCA. I'm so hesitant about using the correct term for this variant because I'm going to read it as I've been seeing it, because I'm hearing it pronounced differently. So maybe you can just clarify for me. We have it as XBB.1.5. Is that the way you say it? And how dangerous is this? Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I guess we can just say the new variant. I mean, there's always going to be another one, and always going to trip over. Is there an X and is there a 1.1? I mean, I don't think it matters that much. You know, maybe in a few months we'll be talking about another one. We forget this one. So I think the issue really is that we're going to see these all the time, and so that's why I said I don't think we need to get too attached to one or other name. What I would suggest is we don't, follow the Twitterverse in calling it the Kraken or anything strange and hysterical like that, because there's no evidence that there's such a major shift. It does seem to be currently replacing the other strains by outcompeting them through transmissibility, where it's become prevalent, such as mainly in the US, and it's been doing that for some time. They have not seen any really major uptick in the number of deaths. They're currently seeing a small uptick in the number of deaths. This could just be because it's well into the winter and the transmission is beginning to bite and there are more cases. It doesn't mean that the cases have a higher sort of risk of being severe once it's been happened. So we don't know too much about the severity. There isn't any striking signal that it's anything terribly, outrageous or significant. So I don't think we need to panic. But I think the fact that there is yet another variant that is even more transmissible than the ones we've evolved already and rapidly able to replace them just means that, yes, it's not over yet. We are going to see these new variants again and again and again, as I think has been known for some time. I think this hammers home the point. And we should not simply assume that somehow they're magically going to become less and less sort of severe in terms of the illness. This is hopefully something that will happen, but we don't have any kind of reason to be sort of confident that that's going to happen. And so we just need to be careful and I think not panic and make a note that, yes, it's happened again and it's not over yet. And certainly, I've been seeing the last few weeks, every week or so, there's some semi sort of marginally deranged article on, the epidemic that never was, or something along those lines. And, I think we need to ignore that messaging as well. I mean, this idea that somehow it was all a big hysterical outburst and that there was never, anything serious going on, this is totally absurd. There was a major epidemic causing major loss of life, and people are continuing to die from this. And so I think caution is very sensible.
Yeah, absolutely. Caution and vigilance is the word we're hearing at the moment. Prof, it's going to lead me to two questions. One is, of course, going to be about the vaccines. Maybe we can just touch on that very quickly, and then I'll ask you as well, if you don't mind. Some people suggesting maybe we need to go into some kind of lockdown restriction again. But let me ask about the vaccinations, because as you say, this is not going to be the last. We're going to probably see more variants down the road. So all the vaccines that many of us were taking, are they still relevant in a subvariant like this? Do we need to go for another booster shot? Because people are starting to now ask that question again around vaccines.
Yeah, look, this is actually a slightly tricky question. So someone dug up this term, it wasn't me, called original antigenic sin. So the point is, when and how were you first exposed to some kind of immune system trigger that is relevant to this COVID bug broadly? Did you first get infected with the beta variant? Were you first exposed through a vaccination? And then what were the subsequent exposures? And it seems that the sequence of exposures matters. And so the problem now is that there are so many different possibilities. Maybe somebody avoided infection and then got this particular vaccine first, then got that booster, then actually got infected. Somebody else first got infected, then got a different vaccine, then a different booster. And depending on these exact sequences, your level of protection varies. It's becoming increasingly difficult to disambiguate exactly what the vaccines are able to do in and of themselves, given this very complex variety of backgrounds. That said, I don't think there's a major update that really takes into account this latest variant. However, it's consistently been the case until now, and we should assume that unless there's strong evidence that this is roughly how it works, that the vaccines are not particularly effective at curbing transmission from person to person. They have a slight effect, which is a good thing, but they have a pretty striking effect on the risk of severe disease. And so depending on who you are and what age you are, that may be something that you care enough about to actually
it's again,
get the
it's that talk around the comorbidities, isn't it, Prof? It's that talk around the possible comorbidities.
Yeah,
there isn't
exactly.
a yes or no answer. I just want to ask you very briefly, Prof, just as I begin to say goodbye to you, this talk of a potential reintroduction of any kind of lockdown levels, is it too alarmist and not necessary? Just as briefly as you can.
Yeah, it strikes me as sort of flying off the handle a little bit. I think there's no evidence that we need to do anything dramatic whatsoever. I think just stay tuned and see what happens.
All right. Well, Prof, it's always good speaking to you, putting our minds at ease. For the moment, Research Fellow at Stellenbosch University's Centre for Epidemiological Modelling and Analysis. What a wonderful title to have on a business card, but it is Professor Alex Welte joining us this morning.